service, faster resolution, improved customer experience, technical accountability. So the incoming call flow is going to hit a contact flow, and we do the basics. You set logging, the whole flow, the voice, working queue, set the working queue, the initial working queue, recording, set the status as waiting, because it's in the queue that we're going to cherry pick from, and then we're going to write that call to the database and transfer the caller to the queue that we are going to be using for the cherry picking process. Then there's a website up front that's going to display the information about callers waiting for someone to claim them. And the agent will see this display, and they'll click the claim button, and they'll put in their username or login. I chose username or login so I don't have to deal with people not using the proper case. As you know, case sensitivity is an issue when you log in. So if I force them to use their login name or their username, I know that they'll get the right case, or they wouldn't have been able to log in. Next, we have a queue hold flow, and that's where all the heavy lifting is done. That's what's going to be looking at that database table, waiting to find someone who has claimed a call. And when we see that, we're going to also look up who claimed it and what queue we should transfer the call to. So the resources are pretty straightforward. You're going to need to build a website to display this information. It may be possible to build this into the agent desktop of your choice. But at the moment, let's assume it's just a freestanding S3 bucket hosting a static website that's going to display the information. It's going to be pretty simple. It consists maybe of an HTML file, a JavaScript file, some CSS information. So the display will handle the caller number, the queue they're in, the wait time, and they'll have an action button that says claim. They click the claim button, they put in their username, and that call will be routed to whoever claimed it. The resources you're going to need on the back end, well, you're going to need some queues and flows. You're going to create a queue. I don't know what you want to call it. I call it Cherry Grove. And that's where incoming calls are parked, waiting for someone to claim the call. There's contact flows to route the incoming call to queue flow to manage the logic of performing, picking a contact. And again, that's where the heavy lifting is done. There were a number of Lambda functions that we had to create. So we created one that would record the incoming call to a database. We have another one that's checking the claim status. We then claim that contact, and we get the details, and we have to eventually delete that record from the database. The resources required on the back end are a Dynamo table. You're going to need a contact table. That's when the incoming call comes in. You're going to store the contact ID, the customer number, give it a timestamp, and initially set the status as waiting. Later, we'll change it to claimed by. And then there's an agent table that has the usernames, the agent's first name, the QARN that we're going to transfer that claimed contact to. Agent name was just something we wanted to use so we can prompt the caller that we found your agent and he'll be with you in a minute. You could add other options here. There's other things that you could clearly do. Challenges and improvements. Challenges were, they were tricky. First of all, you create a queue for each agent that needs the solution because you're going to transfer to a queue. I didn't want to transfer to an ARN because that's pretty risky. If the agent is busy, the call is going to get lost, right? So we want to keep it in the queue. And that itself was pretty tricky because in the customer queue flow, when you transfer to queue, you're basically dequeuing from one queue and queuing to another, but it's going to stay in the same contact flow. And that means the same messages and the same loops, etc. And you've got the additional problem of you're using that flow to do the logic of claiming and routing. And if they're going to stay in that same logic, you're going to have to solve the problem of, well, I can't claim him again. He's already been claimed. So I want him to hear some different instructions. There is no transfer to flow option in that type of a contact flow. So you're going to have to do it all right there in the customer queue flow. Some of the improvements that we'll do in the next version of this is that we should use customer profiles. So rather than displaying a contact ID to the GUI, to the agent, we can, if they've previously called and they're a customer profile, we can address them more by the business name or their last name. So let me show you the actual contact flows. Call hits and we do our basic setup, set logging, set the customer queue flow. Now this we're going to look at in detail because that's where all the heavy lifting is done. We're going to go ahead and set the voice for the session, set the recording, set the working queue. Now in this type of contact flow, you set a working queue before you transfer to queue. It's a very important distinction here, and you'll see that when we look at the customer queue flow. So set working queue just has a success, and down here you'll transfer it. What I need you to note is transfer to queue here only has at capacity and error, and then you disconnect. But we set the working queue, then we go over here, we set some contact attributes that we're going to need going forward. One will be the customer number. We want to know who's calling. We're going to get the customer's number from the system using the key, customer address, or number. We're going to set up a user-defined name called initial queue name, and we've named it the queue we're sending the initial call to, and then we're going to set the status as waiting. And then we invoke a Lambda function here that's going to go ahead and write that information to the database, and then we will transfer the call to the queue. Now, once you transfer to queue, it's going to arrive here in this queue, holes, flow. And first thing, we set up some loop prompts. Now, normally in a queue whole flow, this is where you're going to have your thank you for your patience as we look for somebody to help you and play some music and come back and say, we're sorry we haven't served you yet. We love you. Please continue to hold. And that's all going to happen here. And periodically you'll pump out and give some options. But in this case, we don't want to do a whole lot of that because what we want to do is just get this presented so someone can claim it. So we've set we've set this very, very, very low. And in fact, for purposes of demonstration, I'm keeping the time to the pop out to be very low. But we'll go ahead and pop out. And at that point, we're going to check a contact attribute to find if this call has been through this process once before. If it has, we're going to handle it differently. I'll come back to this as we go through the flow. We're going to play a prompt. Thank you for your patience as we look for the agent who previously helped you. We're going to invoke a Lambda function that is now going to go out and see if anybody has claimed that phone call. If they have, we're going to check contact attributes. This will return a value of true, and at that point, we'll set some additional attributes. When we invoke this guy, we get back not only the status of true or false, but if it's true, we also get back the username of the person who claimed it.
and then we're going to use that username to invoke another uh, function to go and get the details of the claim, who claimed it, and what queue do they want to transfer to, and then we will transfer it. Now notice here in this transfer to queue, you have different, you have the at capacity and error, but notice we didn't set the queue. We're going to transfer to queue, meaning we're going to take it out of the queue that you're currently in, and we're going to send you to a different queue. And this is a very important distinction. The success path here has to end and resume. Why? Because you're changing the queue. You're actually dequeuing from the first queue and queuing to the new queue, but you're going to stay in this flow. And that was the tricky part of this. You're going to stay in this flow. So if we're doing this, again, we invoke the function here um, to delete the record. We don't need it anymore, so let's get rid of it. And then we're going to change the attribute we checked at the beginning to transfer attempt is true and end the flow. Now keep in mind, end the flow means the contact is in queue, they're in a new queue, but they're going to stay in this flow, which is a challenge because if they're staying in here, they're going to hear these same messages again and go through the claiming process, but we've already done that. So we set a contact value that says, hey, is the process been tried already? If that's true, then what we're going to do here is play some other care messages. For example, here we can say, because we got the guy's first name, we could say we have alerted, agent name that you're waiting, and as soon as he wraps up his current call, he'll be right with you and play some music and do all of that. And eventually, I guess you could transfer this off to a new queue if the agent doesn't pick up. So you'll also notice here that as we're checking the status, checking the claim status, we also have a loop condition here because if this comes back as false, meaning no one's claimed it yet, we're going to go through this process again. We're going to do this repeatedly. And at some point, we have to deal with the fact that maybe the agent is not going to claim it. At that point, we're going to um, exit the loop and we're going to transfer to a default queue. And once again, when you're transferring to a queue from in a queue, you're going to have to end the flow. So that's the logic we used in this. Let's take a look at the real application. Doing, I'm going to be doing both the customer calling in, and I'm also going to be the agent. So the agent is logged in. So as you can see, this is the screen that agents would look at. It's not pretty. It's just a simple. I'm not a big GUI developer here, so this is the best I could whip up. I'd like to change contact ID to the name. We'll do that in a future revision. I get the incoming number, the queue, the wait time, and a claim action. So I'm going to go ahead and call in here. And it's ringing, and I don't think you can hear that. There it is. It appeared on the screen here. I'm going to go ahead and now hit claim, and I put in my username and login, and it removes it. And then I'm going to go here, and there you go. Here's the call coming in. I picked it from queue, and I'm hearing the whisper, and life is good. We're servicing yet another customer. So, I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Hit me up with questions. More on this later. Film it.